From a small trading outpost to a world-class financial hub, Singapore has seen rapid development in the last 50 years. But this rapid development has also caused widening income disparities. So does Singapore need a new economic model? Well, I spoke to economist Manu Bhaskaran about this.
We definitely need a new economic model. The previous model was very much based on multinational companies, high GDP growth, and it delivered. But it probably needs some adjustment. We need to build what the government calls Singapore Core, both in the labour force as well as in the corporate sector. The basic idea is you have to put a lot of effort into growing the local corporate scene. Everyone seems to focus on SMEs, but I think it's a broader thing than that. I think it's quite surprising to me how we have not developed our own large local companies for a long time. Since the emergence of companies like Singapore Airlines, DBS, Keppel, Sembcorp, ST Engineering, we haven't seen, in the last 20 years, any large Singapore companies emerge. So we need to find out why, and we need to do something about that. We need different policies calibrated with different categories of SMEs. So you have some SMEs that are basically mom and pop shops, and maybe some policymakers might say that this is low productivity and so on, but they serve a very important function socially, and it caters to people of a certain educational ability and all that. You can't just throw them away, right? They need a role in society as well. We need to find ways to support that part, even if it's not going to grow much, but because it plays a very important role. Then we need to nurture startups, and I think that is where policy is beginning to make a good impact, and we are seeing increasingly a better and more thriving startup scene. Then we need to nurture some of our high growth, high potential, medium-sized companies. Some of them will go abroad, some of them will focus on the domestic market. I think what the government needs to do is to focus on how do you deliver scale opportunities to these companies. This is a very small population, but are there ways through free trade agreements, through economic cooperation agreements with Indonesia and Malaysia and others in the region to provide companies in Singapore with scale opportunities? That has been missing from our free trade agreements. And there are different aspects to this income inequality. So if you go from that macro level then to the micro level, we also have this problem which is really prevalent across the world now, which is that incomes at the low end are being squeezed, and at the high end it's like a winner-take-all thing where a very small sliver of the income distribution, it's not even the top 1%, the top 0.1% seem to get a disproportionate share of the growth in the economy. The other issue is if you look at the composition of profits, a huge share, something like half, goes to foreign-owned companies, right? So the amount left over for Singaporeans has been very low, and unless you really develop your own enterprise sector, you're not going to get any improvement there. It is becoming a very, very key thing. At the end of the day, people ask, high growth is fine, but what's in it for me as an individual citizen? And the good thing is in Singapore, we have an option for distribution that few other countries have, which is that we have built vast resources from our savings, and we've managed those savings, I think, actually very well, and there's a sizable income flow from those savings, and we can take a higher share of that income flow to be used for redistribution without actually digging into the actual capital. So we have an opportunity there to use the savings through the fiscal mechanism to redistribute income, at least to the bottom 20-30%. The basics are very strong. We've managed the economy reasonably well. We've got strong economic institutions. We've got a very credible central bank. We've got a very credible fiscal stance. Global investors, whether multinational companies or high net worth individuals or private banks, have tremendous confidence in Singapore. This is built on foundations that took years and years to build. They don't unravel quickly. So we have a lot going for us. So I'm not worried about the long term. In the near to medium term, I think there are some concerns. I think there will be some pain, and we need to make sure that the pain is managed.
Singapore is set to continue as the region's financial trading hub because of its astute and pragmatic economic policies, stable government, strong economic fundamentals, and innovative financial tools. these factors alone will keep Singapore in the forefront as the world's most important financial centre. I'm Zunar Said, reporting from Singapore.